What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more survival guide as we move toward the conclusion of her 2023 album Death Dreams. Shout out once again to Emily, who not only has made an incredible album, but who commented on a couple of the previous reactions and had a very enlightening dialogue with Kim in relation to the lyrics of the first tune. In any case, the second to last track is Stay Dead, which feels like there might be some conceptual connection to the album as a whole, Death Dreams. And on the surface of it, it's an interesting phrase. It sounds counterintuitive because death is typically, for biological creatures, not something that comes and then leaves, which is further to say that if you are dead, you do typically stay dead. So the idea of waking up from death maybe makes sense in the context of a death dream. But of course it could just be a dismissive statement to someone who has left a person's life or who is dead to them in a more like colloquial sense. So, you know what, you stay dead, you're not even a person to me anymore, I'm not thinking about you. Or it could be about trying to bury the demons of someone who caused problems for you earlier in your life, whether a parental figure or somebody else. So you know what, like you need to stay dead, you need to stop living on in the, psycho-emotional maelstrom of my mind. So I could feel, or I can see some different ways this might be relevant, but again, on the surface of it, it's an intriguing phrase because it seems to defy what we understand about death in relation to biological creatures like ourselves. I'll stop speculating, let's give it a listen. This is Survival Guide, the track is Stay Dead, and it's from her 2023 album, Death Dreams.
There's a living ghost that's haunting me. He doesn't even know I can plainly see. I don't judge up the dead, leave them instead, keeping all the stories straight in my head. No, try so hard, but I'll always be free. Like a wind-up toy stuck on its side. You think you work so hard, but all you really do is lie. You're setting me trap, guessing I'll snap, crawling on the floor, waiting for my scraps, yeah. I just watch as the fake blood dries. Tears coming down my face.
stunning. I really like the sonics of that one, including those background, like supporting keyboard chords. There was also a more true piano style melody that was faster and rolling, and the percussion has some real oomph, especially when it kicks into gear. And Emily's vocals once again sounding good, and just the overall sequencing and composition of the tune I thought was fantastic. But really, when the sonic elements would swell and go to a higher intensity, and I think the choruses, that was my favorite aspect of the tune musically. And lyrically, I think right away we get an indication this is a ghost in her head of someone from her past who probably is still alive, or if he is literally dead, I think the essence is in relation to his continued impact on her, not so much his actual being alive or dead status. I will say there's a lot of metaphor in the tune, like the idea of a wind-up toy that's fallen on its side, so there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of activity, but there's no motion. It's just lying there. It's not actually moving. And I feel like maybe she's haunted by him or whatever he did, but also I think there's a catharsis and a processing of that history in the articulation of what she's saying here. I think also she's recognizing that there's a threshold which has been passed, and whatever she might think about what's happened before, that's done. That's in the past. It cannot be returned to, and implicit in that is a forward-facing, this is a new phase, and you need to stay dead because I need to do things now attitude. So yes, again, there's some details here I'm not sure about. There's some lines I didn't catch in full, but it does sound like an attempt to process what's happened, to bury a ghost of the past, even if it's in some way still affecting her in the present, and to come to terms with that passage of time and to look forward to the horizon rather than back in a rearview mirror, so to speak. So yeah, I enjoy the themes that I caught. Curious to hear what else might be at play, and shout out once again not only to Emily for this album, but to Michaela and to Kim and any others. I remember Mark commented on one of the early ones. I think even Solo commented on the first track. So yes, I found Emily's solo material because she had been the lead singer of Tsunami Bomb going back 20 years or so, and I started poking around Discogs like I often do. I've talked about it in my techno and trance and hardcore, my DJ collections, and it's a valuable resource to learn more about labels and to learn, oh, this person had an alias, and oh, they released this other style of track, or these other tracks in a different style under a different name on a different label. Oh, I never knew that. And you just go down these rabbit holes. And one day when reading about Tsunami Bomb, I ended up finding out that Emily had releases in more recent times. And indeed, people will know I've gone through Death Dreams, but there was also an EP that I've gone through with some covers, and I've ultimately enjoyed hearing her solo work. I also wanted to give a shout out to Michaela specifically. She's mentioned as we've gone through this album that some of the songs have some really cool music videos, so once we finish this audio journey, I will check those out and put them on my Patreon like I've been doing with my video reactions, so I'm looking forward to that. But there is one more tune on the album, and it's I'll Picture You, so we'll come back for that one in the not too distant future and finish off this awesome album. Once again, shout out to Emily and shout out to Double Helix Records for releasing this. Let me know what you think, and I will see you for the next one. Peace.